Not that recorder. That would be wrong.
Now that it's being recorded, I want to say that we are not endorsing this product. We were not paid to endorse it. If we say something good about it, that's just because that's our opinion. It is not the opinion of Big Grapefruit or its subsidiaries.
That's why I have my account open.
All that. Void were prohibited. Oh, great. That's good. Yeah, because Gwen pointed out that like I have a paid account, I might be seeing some different things than you see with just like the free account. So if I say something or she says something that's like, I don't see that, just
Right.
shout, raise your hand.
I think you have maybe more colors in the catalog and more stamps in the catalog.
The basics should be there.
Yeah,
Though.
yeah. All the tools are the same.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to show your screen, or do you want me to show my screen?
Why don't I show screen and you talk, do most of the talking. So you
Okay.
have the
Okay.
the ideas to talk about.
Okay. So,
I'll illustrate what you're talking about.
okay. So do you want to just pull up one of you can make a new map, or you could pull up that, the second one in the regional learning,
Mhm.
like something like that. Ooh, am I allowed to see my screen?
Well,
Yeah, anybody can share.
you just have to make this smaller.
How do I do that?
Oh, grab the corner. Sorry, we're just having a
So technically,
up the top, hit the green button. There you go. Now you can make it.
awesome. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So, so there's tools, and I'm not sure when you look at yours or if it's going to be the same. But if you look at the left-hand side going down, there's a column, and those are the tools. And when you click on them, they also sort of repeat across the top, so you can get to them either way. The top one is a pointer, and that one's really important to distinguish between that one and then the fourth one down, which is a little icon. No, yeah, that one. That's a stamp tool. Because sometimes you'll be like on the map and you'll be like clicking, like, I want to move this. I want to move this. Why can't I move it? And it's because every time you click, you're putting a stamp. You can't move the stamp. You have to be in the pointer to move something or manipulate it. You can move it. You can make it bigger. You can twist it. There's that ring on the outside. I don't know if you can see. You can twist it.
Upside down mountain.
Right. But that's with the pointer. If you're like trying to grab
That's in the southern hemisphere.
Mhm.
if you're trying to
You fall right off if you don't hold on.
you
Yeah.
don't grab it. If you don't have the pointer, you can't grab it. And if I've many times like, and then you have like 5 mountains or 5 buildings like on top of one another.
All stacked to each other. Yep.
You kept placing a new one. So that's like a hard lesson that's important to remember.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
The other thing that I will point out, a hard lesson important to remember, if you look on the bottom edge of the screen to the left-hand side, there's a gold on the bottom. It says 12 changes. And it is every time you click and move or twist or enlarge, you're making a change. And it is good to save frequently
13.
because it is very possible, especially
14,
once you
15,
get into
16.
like adding color, it's very possible you can have 30, 40, 50 changes. And if it crashes, you lose them all.
Yep.
So
And
save often. Keep your, remember to look down there and see, oh, it's been 16 changes, probably should save it.
And the undo key is a friend.
Yes.
So if I do Command Z, oh, I didn't want that. I don't want that. See, the changes is going down too, because it's just removing from the stack of changes.
Right.
Right.
And that's quite nice.
Yeah, that's a good thing to keep in mind. And then you can use the roller wheel to scroll in or
That's what I'm
scroll
doing.
out. But if you want to stay at the zoom level and you just want to see what's on the left or the right, you can hit the space bar and then you can grab the whole map and shift all around.
That's also hitting the space bar selects this pan and zoom tool.
Oh, I never used that before.
Well, I mean, the space bar is the way,
Yeah, the space
right,
bar's the
to
way.
do that.
Yeah.
And I think in Roll20, it's like right click, drag. It's the same.
Yeah.
Same thing.
So, okay, so just to go down the
I think it's
tools
that.
along the side.
Mhm.
So the
You have to
top one
hold
is-
the space bar or just
Space-
press the space.
Space bar and then drag.
Yeah.
See, the space bar turns the
Hold the space bar down.
thing
and
into
then-
a hand that grabs.
Gotcha.
So this pointer allows you to click on an individual stamp and manipulate it. And if you click on it, you can also pull up with the thing, darling, under that pointer, the pointer.
Okay.
Oh, maybe it doesn't work for stamps. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
So you can see that you can use the mouse to make it smaller and larger, but you can also manipulate by numbers. So if you wanted to have everything being the same size, you could make it so that they all say 138 or 152. Like you could make sure with the number that they're all literally the same size. You also, the drop
That's-
is like a transparency opacity.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So transform is something that's an advanced. You
Whatever.
can also change the shape. So with the mountain,
What do you want to talk
Maybe-
about?
pull that mountain down so that
This
you
one?
can see it. Yeah. The big one.
Okay.
So if you say, oh, you know what, that mountain is too fat, I want a taller mountain. I like the look of that mountain, but I want it to be taller. So
Mhm.
you can do that, but you can also use this transform thing.
That's right.
And you can just increase the height.
And
it
this
does-
doesn't change the other stamps that you placed, right?
It just
So-
is that one.
So that's why, you
You
know,
wanted Mountain Doom in there or something.
but then you can copy, right? Like it
Yes.
says here, and then click somewhere else and then paste. And so you
Yes.
can make more of the same of your custom thing.
So especially if you wanted to have the same thing. So this is actually with mountains, it doesn't matter.
Should we talk about stamps though? We haven't really talked about stamps.
No. Well, yes, I was gonna get down to the
Okay.
thing, but we could talk about stamps. But
All right.
Yeah, so
Haven't really explained stamps. There's a library and all that.
there's, yeah.
It might be good to talk about that.
Okay, well, we can jump down to stamps. Okay. So
Getting pretty deep without
I was
knowing what
gonna
it
go
is.
down the tools
That's fine.
first.
Let's go down the
Okay.
tools.
So the second one is this mask tool, or it's the digging tool. And then there's a thing, actually, Tom probably, he understands it better. I don't have good luck with it. But there's a foreground and a background. So like in this map, which is there's land mass and there's water. If you add to the foreground, you can add more land. And if you add to the background, you can subtract the land and add more water.
Mm.
It's just the way this map is set up.
Can I take a
Yeah,
turn?
yeah.
Okay, so there are these two layers and they're there to allow for things like, I want water layer and and dirt, and then I want like grass that's going to show up on most of the land, and covers much of the water, right? So I think when you've got all on the foreground, right? But the
The
background,
land is all.
this is show and hide, right? So this is good. So the background is water,
Yes,
is all blue.
yes.
Oh, okay.
And you could,
Can I-
that's important because you could
Okay.
say, you don't like that color blue. You want to change the blue of
Do
the
we want to get
water.
into that? I wasn't going to do that yet,
Oh, okay.
because we're just doing layers, right? And background. So the idea here is at any given time, you can say, I want to see or I don't want to see the foreground. And the foreground would be like, let's paint all of our foreground, maybe it's all grass or maybe it's all dirt like this. And then how do you decide what parts cover, right? The foreground covers the background, and that's the masking tool. Create your land masses.
So click on that.
Yeah.
Because you can see where it says add or subtract.
Right.
So you're adding to the foreground, you're adding land, or you're subtracting from the foreground, which means you're adding water. You're digging through the foreground to reveal what's underneath.
So this is subtracting the land from the foreground.
Oh, yeah, you need to add some more land there. Can you add the land?
I
back?
can add some land.
Yeah.
If you
So
like.
it looks like the land that you're adding and or taking away is not of the exact same shape as the circle.
No, that's true.
Right.
And that has to do with how smooth or rough the edges are of it. And notice the shape that's picked by default is this circle with uneven edges. And then you
Got
can
it.
you can have an exact one, but it just assumes
No.
you don't want it, right?
No.
Because it'll
Right.
look really weird,
Yeah.
right? But it's useful.
no.
It's just,
And also, I think if you lay a grid down, I think that, like, for instance, the hex grid, when you build the land, it will build it in the hex. Like, it'll fill in hexes.
well, you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can, there's other shapes. Like this is the grid shape. And so here you can see it set to like isometric, right? And that's because we haven't told the grid what to be. So let's set the grid to square. That's a little more. Okay, let's do hex. And then when you're in, what were we in,
Dig.
the dig tool?
Add, yeah.
We can add in the grid fashion some of our hexes,
Got it.
exact hexes if we want, or subtract. And again, you can change the size of the tool to just subtract one or a few hexes.
And now I'm going to remind
So
you.
so is it clear what's happening here? That there's a foreground layer that's like all dirt, and there's a background layer that's like all water. And the mask says how much of the top layer am I going to cut away or show, right? Cut
So-
away is subtract, and add is saying I like the foreground to show here, right? That's what the masking does. It lets you mask, right? Cover or not cover the background with the foreground.
And the reason why,
So if you wanted to have if you wanted to have a lake just to the west of the, or just like you have a lakes over here to the east of the mountain range, you could just go to that land and then use your, there you go. And so that would be
Subtract
like-
button.
Got it.
Subtract
Okay.
button.
Yeah.
I did a sort of a uneven one.
No, that's fine.
Um,
Yeah, I've just did, right.
and then also, like I was saying, if you decided you don't like this color water, like you want the water to be like an icier blue, you can just manipulate the background and change the color.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
All right. So now let's talk about colors. So the brush tool has a catalog of colors or textures, and you can hit F, it says.
Before you do that,
Oh,
Can you
before
go
I do
back?
that. Mhm.
I'm going to just point out you have 43 changes. You need to save.
Yes, if we wanted to keep this, we would save. Oh, apparently we want to keep this, so I'm saving. And it takes longer the more, especially of the stamps you've dropped onto your map. So when you
Right.
get into 500, 600 stamps, it starts to take a long time to save, long time to export an image from this. So, it's something to keep in mind in the long run. So let's
Is
let's
that being-
paint a different, yep,
Is that being saved on your computer or in the cloud?
in the cloud. To get anything onto your computer, you have to do a export as image, save offline backup, right? That's something you
Okay.
can then import, and then it becomes a cloud thing. This just
Yeah.
becomes an image of your choice, and you get choices about resolution and all that, and format.
Okay.
So for colors, let's say we have a different, what color do you want? This one or this, like a lighter blue?
Yeah, sure.
So the good thing is we don't have to paint carefully here because the entire background is water. So we can just choose like, I think, I don't know why it says fill foreground, but we're going to put it
Click
on the,
on background.
thank you, fill background. So that one just filled the entire background. I've never done that before, but you can fill the entire background. And so now when we go back to layers and show the foreground again, it's just as if we were smart from the beginning and chose the right color from the beginning, right?
And you could do
The
same
masking
thing
is the
with
same.
Right, the foreground, you say, no, this is kind of a desert color. I don't really want a desert color. You could go back
Let's
and you
do
could
it.
say, pick the foreground
Foreground,
and say, I'm looking for more
catalog.
of a savanna. Is there some kind of grass? Can you scroll down?
Like this one?
Oh, no, that's hideous. Can you scroll down and find me a nice grass?
Nice grass.
Okay, that's good.
Is that good?
Yeah. that's
And
good.
then I guess we'll just use the fill foreground.
Yeah.
And the beauty is, look, all the masking is the same, right? All the investment was not in painting the grass. It was in painting the difference between the foreground and the background. That investment is still valid. We just were able to see, quickly and easily change the color scheme.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's the power of masking as opposed to doing it all with pixels, right?
Yeah.
Even layers, right? Like in Photoshop, we would have to change, right, the color of the layers. Well, here we just chose a different texture or color in one 12 foot.
Yeah, so those mountains look really stupid. So can you Command Z so that I can get back to my desert land, please?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Sure, yeah.
Command Z is your friend.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna
okay,
turn off the grid too, because I feel like it's imposing
okay, that's fine.
on us.
And so then the other thing that's good to keep in mind about like the painting and the painting, if you're painting and you can't.
Tom and Gwen, are you guys on a Mac?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay,
If you're painting and you can't see what you're painting, it like make sure you're on the foreground or the
Yeah.
background, because you could be painting on the background and
And-
if you're looking at the foreground, it's hidden. So
I'll
so it's just-
demonstrate.
yeah, it's just a good thing to keep in mind, like
So here,
this foreground background.
if I select the background and I think, oh, I'm just going to paint some grass on the foreground, and then I do that, oh, it's not working, and then I go off and do something else. Well, it turns out that I painted the background.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Even when I couldn't see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what Gwen's talking about. And so you just want to, if you try something and you can't see the effect, just undo.
Or like look and see where this background foreground
that-
thing, it's like
that
it's
too.
tricky.
Yeah.
We don't think that way, so it's
That's
just-
right.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
moving on.
So okay, so where am I in the notes? So oh, we're going down the thing. Okay, so the next icon is this stamp.
Yay.
So stamps, no wait, can you go back to that?
Yes.
So you'll notice that there's sort of a I call them like sister stamps. There's like a family of related stamps there. So you click on one mountain and there are other mountains that are similar to it. And in fact, you can choose one of them and then you can actually drag, which is what I did to make that mountain range. And it'll like go through. Oh no, that's all the same
Well, that's
one.
because I selected the one, I think.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure. You're more of an expert in the
Maybe it's I'm not
painting
doing
with the,
them all.
well, I
Well,
think it, yeah, you did it
At any
though.
rate,
Yeah.
if you're trying to make like something that has like sort of like a cohesive feel to
That's
it.
advanced. Should we talk
Well-
about that after we talk about stamps?
Yeah, okay. Why
All
don't we
right.
go to the stamp catalog?
Thank you. I just really want to talk about stamps.
Okay.
Are you going to do it?
Yeah, so I was gonna say this is the same thing. The if you look down at the bottom on the left-hand
Mhm.
side,
Yes.
we are in fantasy world. These styles and packs, again, if you wanted to have it to be sort of like a cohesive look, you can just work from within one style and pack. Or if you just want to look at all of them, you can select all of those packs, or you can select, a couple, 3 that you like the best. Some of them are from above, some of them are straight on, and some of them are on the slant, like an isometric.
These are isometric here.
So, again, it's like just if you're trying to have the consistency in your map,
Don't want to mix. Yeah.
you don't want to mix the ISO
Right.
with the roof, right? And then you can search up above. There's a search bar. So I found like when I was making the city, it's directly from above. And so I found, for instance, roof was really helpful.
But not in fantasy world.
Yeah, I
So
select them all.
Let's select more of our packs. And then our query will cover all of the
Sure.
packs. No, I think roof is good.
So you get a lot of roofs.
Yeah.
And
So
then-
this is 4.
Yeah, you can open them up and see there's 4 that are related that have that similar look or feel.
Are these all royalty free?
These all come with the membership to the Inkarnate. Some are, and you can use them for free for commercial purposes.
But I think if you have the free, you just don't get as many of the packs. And when you
Yeah.
when you have the version, when you create a new map, it asks you at the very beginning, like, what do you want to create? You want to create like parchment world,
Should we look at
whatever.
that?
They're basically no. I mean, they're basically asking you about those style packs. So
Which is
that
weird, isn't it?
they're
Because you can
trying to
just choose
direct
them.
you to that style.
Yeah, I don't
They're
understand
trying
that. But
like
but
a
they show you
framework.
some example maps when you do
Yeah.
create a new map.
Yeah.
We skip that step,
Yeah.
but
But so you can look at like, you can put in like tree, foliage. Foliage is really general, like that's a good one. Building, you can put in,
1,122 items.
yeah, it's because it got the hashtag.
There we go.
Yeah.
Foliage.
So the thing to keep in mind about the stamps is like what Tom said. You can put them on your map. You can, you can adjust them. You can actually flip them mirror image. You can expand them. You can shrink them, although that can affect resolution so that they lose the detail. But the more stamps you have on your map, the more memory it takes to sort of manipulate the map, to save the map, to load the map. So if you find like it's sluggish and not responsive, if you can,
It doesn't look too bad, but you can start to see the imperfections,
yeah.
right? Like there's a gap there.
And the
So
same thing with like if you shrink it down, because I had that problem with trees, and you would put it and then you would shrink it down, and it's like, well, all the trees sort of look like green blobs. Like it didn't really help.
so there are limitations, and it's good to start with stamps that are about the size that you need. And so maybe we can talk about custom stamps at this point.
Yes, yeah.
So I made some custom stamps, not too many, because mostly I found what I needed. But I wanted to have like zones where you might hear or see a monster, or where a monster might hear or see the party. And so yellow is like they might, and red is you definitely will see, and put this on like the DM version of the map. And so I was faced with, well, I need some big circles, I need some small circles or half circles. And
Okay, I gotta stop you.
go.
You made a point. I don't, when you say, did you jump to a roll 20 reference when you say DM map? Because you just,
So shall I show? Should we
Yeah,
show?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
because
let's-
I want to make sure that, okay, so right
It's-
now we're talking about just maps that,
Yes.
right.
we're creating for like, a printed module or all that. So now, what do you?
So
how
like,
does-
yeah, so it's a good question. The map of the ruins, right, for the Bard with a Clue, we have like the player version and the DM version. And so yeah, the idea would be we're going to export a version for the DM to see that's going to have all these arcs and numbers of the rooms, and then the PC, the player version, right, when lighting is used, you're not going to see 19 when you go in, and you won't see that the bear can sense you, right, or will for sure sense anybody inside of this arc, kind of a thing, right? So these are sort of like to let the monsters, the stuff will happen to you, may happen to you if you're in the yellow zone, will happen to you if you're in a red zone, right? That's the idea. But the problem I had was if I simply made the same circle or arc bigger or smaller, it started to look pixelated and horrible. So I actually made sets of custom stamps that are different sizes, minuscule all the way through through large, right? And so a large one, it starts off big, right? And I probably didn't do this expertly. A small one starts off much smaller, and then of course you can still change it, but I didn't want it to become much thicker or thinner either, right? Pixelated and thicker or thinner is sort of your enemy, right? Suddenly you've got a little helper thing that's just way too thick. So go ahead.
I have a question. So when you're doing this, can you make the GM just a layer of the same map?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or a copy.
So,
Okay.
So let's talk layers within the map, right? So we talked about foreground and background, but there's also all the objects have their own layer. And I've kind of gone a little wild here from 5 all the way to -4. But it's like you keep coming up with a reason to have a different layer. So what happens is, say you want to have dirt, but you want to have the dirt on the table. And then you want to have the table over the dead body, right? That's where you get into all these layers.
Yeah.
Okay.
and we made some decisions, like the DM layer is 5, I think.
Yes.
And so when I turn off 5, all the DM tips and tricks just go away. The numbers, the hints,
The arcs, the secret doors, all that other stuff.
the
Yeah.
the ghostly visions
And
that,
so-
that the players.
Traps, if you put them in the trap, and yeah.
And so you could export the image with 5 hidden, layer 5
Like
hidden,
that, and then
and
export it
that's the
again.
player map.
That's right.
And
Right.
and it-
When we'd publish one as a player map and
Correct.
one as a GM map.
Exactly
right,
right.
right.
And another thing to point out is that stamps can be combined with painting, right? You can paint directly on the surfaces. These little gopher holes are a combination.
Do me a
of little
favor.
bit-
Stop going in and out. You're making me sick.
Okay, sorry about that.
Slow
So,
down.
so this is like a gopher hole, like for the Grelsch, which are like little gophers. And what I did for them was I used a stamp for the ring, and then I sprayed some dirt to have like overflow dirt, and then I painted, yes, I can undo, good call. And then I painted a little black to be like the hole from whence the dirt came. So you can do that, those combinations to get effects.
Yeah.
This is bat guano sort of on top of everything.
Yes.
And so it's on a layer above these stone objects, which are obviously above the floor. And notice that some of them have shadows. When you drop a stamp, it will by default have a shadow.
Down at the bottom there.
I want to pick a stamp.
Okay.
What would be an obvious one? I guess we could grab one of the stones and just make another. There, we grabbed a stone. Let's drop it here. And
Go to your pointer.
you can see, I'm sorry, Doug, apologies to Doug. It has
Well,
a
I
little
just get
shadow.
motion sickness.
It has a little shadow. But in here, you can say the shadow has object kind of shadow. I don't want it to have any. I want it to be flat. And so now it looks more like a tile.
Yeah.
On the
We
ground.
had a problem with the doors. The doors, it looked like there were actually, I don't know if on the map that Les printed for the game he did, there was like a double. It was like 2. It was like parallel. It was like an equal sign. Like there were 2 lines. What is going on? And then we realized it was like a shadow for the door. It
That's right.
looked really dopey. So we had to go through and click on the door, and it
Each
turns
door and
out-
turn off the shadow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it turns out you can do it for the class. So it's like you can do each door by hand, which we did. But you can also click on the door and then select all the stamps that are the same stamp as that stamp.
Okay.
Do them
So,
at once. So
Right click, select all stamps like this.
Yeah.
It's powerful. so
That'd
you have to
be
careful.
much better than
Then one at
Yeah,
a time.
really.
done one at a time, and you
Yeah.
miss one, and then there's like a
Right.
special one in there. Yeah. Yeah. So I think
You know, originally this was a nice, rich sort of dirt, ground color, but when you print, it uses a whole lot of ink.
you're using ink for no reason, right?
So we just decided we'll go with white, and until I hear otherwise, we're just going to. do that.
No,
Like,
white.
Yeah, for printing in a book, you might want to do it pretty, but for
that's the
handouts,
background,
yeah,
right?
but for
So-
handouts, and for digital, it would be okay to do it. But so we have to work out like how many versions of this map are there going to be and where are they going to show up. We haven't worked all of that out yet.
How do you guys add another layer?
Right. So of objects,
Yes. So you have
So-
like 10 layers there.
Right.
I'm
It
looking at
happens-
mine. I just have a 1 layer and I'm not seeing how I would add a
these-
layer.
These objects, the layers are created automatically for you when you promote or demote an object to a layer that doesn't exist yet.
So put
Okay.
an object, just put an object there in the myriadron. Just put something, it doesn't matter, anything.
And I say, if you look on the little object menu,
Yeah,
it has move up a layer, move down a
Yeah,
layer.
exactly.
Yeah,
So let's pick
exactly.
this one. It's big.
Yeah.
And then,
It's
yeah,
on layer 2.
there's this tool to do it. You can also right click it. There's lots of ways. Move up a layer, move down a layer. But I'll go ahead and move it up. Let's do it this way. Now it's 4th. Now it's on the 5th. Now it doesn't go any higher than 5. It turns out that's probably why there's only 5. Because if I'd gone higher, I would have. And can I go any lower? Yes, apparently I can go even lower. So down to -5. Look, I had restraint and didn't use all the layers possible.
And
So,
What you have now, though.
well, yeah. In fact, level 3 is not used and -5.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'm gonna undo the changes we've done so far because I don't think any of them
What
were.
doesn't matter, I guess we don't have to. say
Well,
it, so-
it's just safer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So.
And then what do you do to show and not show a layer?
So that's in the layers view, objects, and then you can say.
You went to 5 and just hide. Okay.
Hide that. You can also lock it. So you can say, I want to do some editing and I don't want to mess with my DM stuff. I'm not working on that today. Right. And so you can either show it or not show it, but I've locked it.
Right.
And so that means if I try to say I select a bunch of stuff and I move it, look, I didn't select the 22 or this
Yep.
DM
Yep.
layer thing because I locked it. And so locking is really your friend.
You bet.
And it's upsetting because if you lock it and forget, then you're like, why isn't this moving?
Why
Am
can't I
doing
move it?
something wrong? What's going on? I need another
Yep.
beer.
It's your
Yeah.
friend and worst enemy.
Yes, exactly. But it's super powerful. All these tools are very powerful, especially the select all items like this. You can totally, mess things up that way, but it's also a time saver.
So when we were talking about like the stamps and how more stamps is more demanding of memory, there's little walls, like when you put the walls and they're like a centimeter long. And so we had like 200 sections of walls.
Tiny, like 1, 2,
200
3, 4
individual
walls, 5 walls.
stamps, right?
Right.
So what Tom went back and did was he went through and he got rid of all those walls and he stretched the wall
That's one wall stretched to as far as it can be.
so that all of a sudden you greatly reduce the number of walls
Stamps and
that
overall
are-
number of stamps.
and right. So that's like a good thing to
We're
keep
at
in
we're at
mind,
571 right now,
which is a lot.
which is a lot, but it would be a lot more if I hadn't, made those changes, kind of a
Right,
thing.
right. And
Oh,
there's some there you could do.
I could
darling.
trim some fat there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, I can't. You know why? So this is an important distinction. This wall is
Oh.
a smooth wall. So when you stretch it, it doesn't look weird. This being a textured wall, when you stretch it, let's go to the advanced and then the transform. And then,
Height, I think.
well, we like it to be height. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
It
See how-
distorts.
Yeah, it distorts the
Doesn't look good.
pattern.
So
Yeah.
that's why I was, we also, one of the reasons I think we have fewer
Somehow-
stone walls than
Yeah.
these nice, like sort of wood walls or
Yeah.
paneling or whatever. So it's just something to keep in mind on a very large map. But we could have done this in 3 or 4 separate Inkarnate maps, right? It didn't have to be one integrated map.
And also, once you finish like a room, you can flatten it, which we haven't done yet. So I don't know exactly how that works, other than that you can't move the stamps anymore. It's all in the background. You can paint over them if you decide later on, like, oh, I wish I hadn't put that there. You can paint over it and you can put a new stamp on top of it, but you can't change what you flatten. So, but then you're back to having no stamps once you flatten it. Did you do that?
I opened this. Yeah, this is one of the 3
Oh, that was-
floors of the way station, right? One of the way stations. And it's a battle map, right? It's for missions. We haven't used it yet. Nobody's used it. But this is to give you a sense of like, scale, right? You can do stuff zoomed in like this. So 5-foot squares. You can do sort of like the city map that we've done. We can look at that too. And then you can do like regional maps that are really large scale and maybe use hexes. So, what's nice is you can zoom in fairly close and it looks pretty good. But, if you go in too deep, you start to see pixels,
Right.
but it's pretty good. Now, one thing that I did, I might show for fun, is I basically copied and pasted the same map, right, for 3 different layers: basement, floor 1, and floor 2. And for floor 2, it could be nighttime or daytime. So I think it's been a while, but I created like, this is the daytime view. Out the window, right, is clouds and the sun. And I think I put, where did I put it?
Is it the background?
Maybe it's that. Yeah. So nighttime view, and then
No, wait, why did you lose
maybe I didn't do forehand and background. It's been too long, sorry. But I made it so that you could quickly switch from, like daytime to nighttime. I think there's a starry view somewhere. It's not here. Oh, you know what it is? There's a stars thing that I made. But anyway, that's not important. The point is, like, these are different stories to the same building, right? And what's that? That's it. There's the stars and the moon. They're on a layer. That's right. So this is, again, the outside of the building, but during the nighttime. So if you wanted to have a night version and a day version of an above ground floor, right, you could do that very easily, right, and export it.
Yeah. Or if you wanted to, Tom was telling me, like, you could have 2 stories, like you could have the ground floor and then you could have the basement, and you could like punch a hole using the digging tool. Like the basement could be on the background. You could paint it on the background, and inclusive like your walls, you can maintain walls. The stamps stay on either. And then you could like punch a hole through the foreground, which is the ground floor, to seeing what's under there. So there's a lot of stuff with the background and the foreground that you can do.
That's right. So this is a map where we don't plan to have a grid at all, right? There's no point in putting a hex because it's not a travel map, and there's no point in putting a battle squares on it because it just seems a little like I don't really want to have a battle on this map, right? It's too big and it's too small for a grid. So it's kind of in between. It's still a work in progress. We've sort of done it by neighborhood and we sort of color coded them. There's different ways to do it. And then the idea is we'll maybe copy and paste some of these neighborhoods into our adventure, as well as having this overall map. And then when you're reading about the different things in the neighborhood, you can see their relationship to each other, right? As well.
Yep.
Any questions? Anything you guys want to see? We could also have one of you volunteer at this point.
I do have a question. Can you import your own images into? You mentioned earlier about how you made your own things, your own stamps. So I'm very curious about how to do that. But also, can you import other images from outside of Inkarnate into Inkarnate and use those as stamps?
Absolutely. So like,
okay.
Some of these are. I mean, I haven't done a lot of it because I'm not a graphic designer, right? But all of these ones at the top here, they're red background. Are ones that I imported in, right?
The antlers and the thing, they're on the map.
These were from like the Wikipedia, fair use kind of stuff.
Okay.
These ones I bought from, there's a website that makes lots of little icons like this. Yeah, nounproject.com.
And to do, and you upload those. I see the upload button. Okay.
Exactly.
That's how you do that.
Where's the upload button? Oh, yeah, right there.
Upper left.
You just say, I want to choose an image file. You choose something. Where's my porn? And then you and then you've got it. And you can make it bigger.
This map is going to be lit.
It's going to be awesome. All right. So it's not working. Oh, I see. It is working. It's just the dialogue is having trouble. Can you guys see the pop-up dialogue?
Yeah, the desktop.
Yeah. Now you see it. Okay, so there you would go and you pick your image, and then it just becomes one of these, and you choose. There's a couple of choices you have about how large you want it and what's the thumbnail supposed to look like.
Okay.
And this one I think was an experiment in. Did we make this or is this something else? So one thing I thought about doing for the city was having.
Oh, you want it to be isometric.
Well, yeah, when I was working on isometric, and I also was thinking about, well, how can we reduce the number of stamps we have? What if we have some map and then screenshot it, just take a picture, then turn it into a stamp, and then you can move a neighborhood around. It's not editable, right, as stamps anymore, but now you have, instead of whatever this is, 30 stamps, you have one stamp, right? So that's another strategy is being able to, reduce the number of stamps you have by freezing them. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Into stamps. That was just an experiment.
Yeah.
But yeah, you
Okay.
totally can do it. And then like, this is, I haven't done much, obviously, right?
Right.
Because the library is pretty big. The
Yeah.
catalog's pretty big.
Yeah. And then, okay, so then going down the side, so the T is for text. So like in the city where we name buildings, you can change the font, you can change the color of the font, you can make the shadow on the font, you can make, all of these you can make more translucent, more opaque. So how much you want them sort of to merge or stand out.
Why is it not taking? There we go. Maybe I have to do this. There we go.
And then our custom stamp saved in a specific area.
That top area. I
It just
think.
puts them at the top.
Yeah.
I don't know, custom assets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, and they're always there, I think. So even if you put, I got rid of them, but they're there a lot. They really push them because they know they're important to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see them a lot.
Yeah.
So text, and then there's a path tool to make paths. Why is that the color of the path?
What's a path?
Yeah, what's a
So,
path?
A path, they assume you're going to want to draw paths, like here's a path through a hiking trail or something.
Mountain trail, road, all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
And you can see it's very easy to, once you've got a path, to manipulate it as an object. This would be hard to do with stamps, not so great to do with
Paint,
with
can't
just
change paint.
yeah, paint is just pixels, and
Yeah.
this is an object kind of a thing to
Right.
do. So it's kind of a cool thing. We haven't done that much with it. I think the advanced users use it a lot.
Yeah.
I think.
So it's different from a path as defined in like InDesign or some of the Adobe products.
Yes, this is
Okay.
literally a
Literally a
map
path.
and routes, right? Like sea routes, right? Stuff like that. If you were doing an ocean one and you want to show all kinds of trade routes and stuff, that's your tool. Instead of
Right.
having to draw
Gotcha.
dashes painstakingly, right? It's really a time saver for that kind of a map.
Yeah.
And then notes,
We've never done notes.
well, it looks like somebody did.
I don't do that.
Bear Den.
It's
I
a
don't know.
ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Note title. And then save. I guess you can then look at the note.
I guess if you were building
Show the
something and you
notes.
have, like, you can put something in there later.
So where's Bear
It could
Den?
be, this is where this creature is going to be.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
For future
maybe I
reference.
marked it. Oh, I did. I marked it
You
as a
marked
Bear
it
Den.
there. Yeah.
So I just wanted to see what it was for. I
Yeah.
did that a long time ago. All right, we're gonna undo those.
Yeah.
Um,
Then the grid, you did the grid.
we talked about the grid, and its basic is on or off.
Yeah.
But if it's on, then you get all kinds of options.
Yeah.
Um,
And there is one of the things we did run into was when we were building this and then we were doing the walls and it was on the grid. Do you want when you put, if the width of the wall takes away from the grid, right? So even if you line it up, it's wider than the grid line.
Mm-hmm.
So the squares that are along the walls are narrower. And
Yeah.
so, and yes, and then so that was like an issue, like how to decide. And it's one of those things that you just, I guess, have to accept. And then also, there's a funky shadow. Do you see it?
Here?
Yeah.
And here?
Do we like that?
well,
Okay.
it's the shadows. Sometimes you don't want them. Like if the furniture is smashed on the floor, you don't want it to cast a big shadow. So this stuff is all like rubble on the floor. But this is an intact office. And so in principle, the table's up and has a shadow, and these are
So-
up. It's a lot of shadow though.
Yeah,
So I mean,
a lot
that's
of
the kind of thing I might make the shadow more subtle. Anyway,
Now, where's
Yeah.
your, as an example for that room number 8
yeah,
regarding the shadows? Now, if I'm going to assume that based on where the shadow is, your light source is in the upper left-hand corner or about there.
right.
So if-
yeah.
So the point is, that's the direction of both the shadow being cast on the bookshelf and on that table.
Correct.
So if you were to move that what you have highlighted, that table,
Yeah.
over
Change
to the other-
shadow.
Guess
would
what?
that,
It doesn't,
Nope, it doesn't change the shadow.
Right.
because it's not that sophisticated, or there's a way to do it that I don't know.
Well, that's fine. I mean, the point is in roll 20, I mean, if you have your light source up in the upper left-hand corner.
Right, right.
And you move things around, then the shadow, moves with it. So.
As it
all right.
should. And this one, you do have choices, but you don't have a choice from like whence the light comes, which would be cool.
Yeah.
For us, a given object, stamp, you could say where the light's coming from. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
But they have this cast shadow on other objects, or cast shadow behind all objects, which is the default for the layer, I guess. So it's a little bit of choice.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the tools. Do you guys want to try it live, or is that not the best use of our time? What do you guys think?
If we're
It'll-
looking,
It'll take me a couple of moments, more than moments really, to digest all this. That's why I'm happy it's being recorded.
Yeah.
So,
No,
Have
this
some
is
facts
It's a lot
previously.
going on.
this is
Yeah.
a mine, and we did it with the wavy, right? Digging tool, the mask, right?
Right.
So we can show that by showing the layers.
Is it a foreground thing?
Yeah, exactly. So the background is just rock, right? And the masking is what creates the difference, right? What covers up some of the underlying rock, right? And this was, again, a different color rock in the past, but now it's just white. But that's use of the masking, right? To advantage, I think. In fact, the whole place is masked. Right? So it's rock and then outlined. And to do this, I used, I think, the masking tool with the grid, right? So this, and then select that, and that conforms. You can sort of see it, right?
Yeah.
Do subtract, and we do it from the foreground.
So you did it like that in this area over here, but where it's rough, you didn't do that tool.
Exactly. Where it's rough, we would have used this and say, okay, there's a mine coming off of that nice
Right.
rim.
Cool.
It's very slick. The masking is fantastic. It just relies on you to understand it and to set up your two layers first and just paint them. Just fill the foreground with one color, background with one color at first. You might, like I was telling Gwen, at some point, say you had an ocean as the bottom, right? And you had an island on your foreground. But then you decided, I want it to be a volcanic island. What you could do is hide the foreground so you don't have to look at it, and then paint lava in the center of where the island would be, and then cover it up again, and then just mask out the center of where the volcano is, and you'll see the lava underneath, but only where you cut away the land, right? So it's sort of really analogous to the real world, in the sense that you can have underground and above ground.
But you could also just paint the lava on top of the.
She
land.
pointed that out
That's
too.
like another way. You
There's
can do
other ways to do
multiple
it.
ways to do
That's
the
right.
same effect. And once you export it as like a JPEG or whatever, I don't think you can tell the difference.
No, it should be transparent.
I
This
did-
is about maintainability, right? So if we
Yeah.
want to add a new section to the mine, it's so easy because we can just dig away
Yeah.
from the top layer
I
to show the
did,
bottom.
I did the city and I was drawing on the background. And so I was sort of drawing where I wanted the neighborhood to go like this, and I wanted the road to go like this. And then we were able to come in and paint on the foreground over it to get it in the right place. But then when Tom was going back looking at things in the map, it was a hot mess in the background because all my original notes were there. But it was helpful to have the notes.
Mhm. I just made the dragon tiny. No.
Yeah,
He's just for the DM.
fossil.
Maybe it's she. Yeah. Or they. We don't know.
Yeah.
And so here's some lava, and there's a, you can do different effects, and the texture library is pretty large, and you can add your own textures, you can upload them. I think I added some, but I basically have used the
At the
ones
top?
that they provided. Yeah, these are custom ones that I put in. I was playing around with isometric ones to be able to have, interesting backgrounds in an isometric map. I still want to do isometric stuff, but we didn't do it for this.
I don't understand how you can do battle in isometric. I
Well,
feel like,
Les is doing that on the Saturday night game.
oh,
Yeah, but it is challenging. Some people complain, how far is that away?
Yeah, some people
You know?
complained.
And it's like, well, use your imagination being a little bit, because
Oh, good. Theater of the mind.
look at this lovely map. Yeah,
No, it's
so-
it's an isometric map, and I think it's an awesome map. But some
It's
people are like, I
awesome.
can't tell how far am I away from stuff.
well, you got your measuring, lawyers who want to
Right.
be like, I'm exactly the distance I need to be to cast the spell. And it's like, okay, but this is about the map, right?
Right.
Very cool. All right, so maybe that's all we need to talk about.
Yeah, I
unless
think
you
so. No, wait a
guys have
minute.
questions.
Shonda, look to see-
I do have one question. Hey,
Yeah.
Les?
Yeah.
All right, let me share, can I share my screen?
Please.
Anybody can share.
All right, so let me, because what I'm gonna do is I'm on there.
Just started sharing screen.
Okay,
Yep.
so that is, let me go back. Okay, so when I log on, I don't have a pro, thing and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Right.
So, I want to create a new map. So my first thought was, because like I've got all in my own brain, the Riverbend, Pertheus, Elk Point Keep stuff. All right. So I was thinking that I was going to be able to hit create new map and I'd have a blank like grid or something.
Right.
However, I go over here. Here are my choices.
You
Mhm.
can scroll down, so there's more. You can scroll down and see.
I see
these-
that.
Yeah, and these are directing you, so you can,
They're really trying to prevent you from having a completely blank starting point, because many people are intimidated by the
Right.
blank page, right? They're
Right.
trying to say, here are the kinds of things you're going to be able to do if you choose this, but really you can do anything from anywhere.
Yeah.
They're just sort of pointing you in directions, like,
and also they're going to see
Yeah.
like each thing, watercolor cities, that is one of those style packs of stamps. So
Okay.
they're trying to like direct you to if you choose that, they're going to direct you to those, so you have that cohesive look,
So, Here
Yes.
I am. You can see my arrow or whatever, finger is. Okay, so I'm right above this fantasy battle maps 2.0 for free. I'm going to click on that, and this is totally random. I'm just choosing a style.
Yeah.
Choose that style.
Okay, so they want you to go 40 by 30.
Oh, now I see. We have to have pro in order to do custom.
But I think that actually there is a way to add land. So like, because I
well,
did
but
this on,
probably maybe not.
on this one.
But I mean, 40 by 30 tiles is pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just, you're going to want to pay for it if you're going to want to do custom stuff.
And
So,
so,
like,
You could play with this and see if it's
Yeah.
worthwhile.
yeah,
and
to
then
your
I see. Okay.
to your point, Doug, I went ahead. The pro upgrade is like $25 a year. So
Oh, yeah, I'm sure I'm going to get
yeah,
that.
so I went ahead and did it,
Yeah.
and it opens up all those other services. It really is a light year from the free stuff.
And I'm probably going to do that too.
Mhm.
However, this being our first tutorial,
Sure.
Sure.
I just wanted to, that's why I'm sharing my screen to say, okay,
Yep. How do you get
if I
started?
go back, see, now you can see where I'm not even going to bore us all with what I'm trying to describe, what I'm seeing.
Sure.
But the point is, you can see the little circle
Yep.
floating around there. And I can go back and I create map because I didn't save anything.
Right.
Takes me back there. That's all where do I start from all this? Okay.
Yeah, and
Right,
the
yeah.
first thing I would do, right, on any map like that is look at the foreground, background, maybe paint, what you want. Is it an island? Is it all land? And then if it's land, maybe make a dirt layer in the background and then grass on the foreground, something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So that then you can start to define things using the the digging tool, because that's really a powerful, starting place.
Yeah.
And then Gwen also pointed out that you can use that tool to sort of lay out your shapes. Like say you want to build a city block, right? You could lay out, in a sort of a grid fashion. You could do it with the digging tool, and then place all your stamps, like buildings and stuff, and then you could fill it in. And so it would just be like a guide for you, right? There's lots of ways to do
You
it.
could do the background. So I didn't leverage the background in the foreground.
Yeah.
But I started to do, so I found a picture of a Norman village. It was isometric. And so I wanted to do it from above just because I like.
Instead of isometric.
Right. And I was just playing around to see. And so I was using the because when you're painting, you can paint with a brush that's like thick or thin and wiggly edge or whatnot. But you can also lay down like blocks of color. So you can make a square, you can make a circle, you can make an oval. And so that's how I planned where I wanted to put the stamps first. Was I planned out the space. I made a big circle and then an oval and then another circle and some squares. So like I knew where my buildings were going to go.
Right. You could draw it too.
And then I could put the stamps. Yeah.
Right. Good.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'll have many questions like children often do.
I do not know what a filter is. I've never used it.
Where is the filter?
Yeah. Never
or
used it.
whatever.
Never used
And that's
it.
fine.
So you can find out and teach me.
Yeah.
I would appreciate it.
Oh, the grid is. Resizing. Resizing is the pro.
Trying to upsell you.
Can you show grid if you click on show grid?
Yeah, you can probably show grid. You have to choose the grid they like.
Yeah.
I bet.
Well, no, you can look at they have the ISO, they have the hex.
Oh yeah,
And then you can make the grid.
that's pretty generous.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good tool and they know it, so they're confident
So-
they're going to upgrade.
Yeah.
What you're seeing then, would be considered layer 1
So
or layer 0, layer
Well,
0.
this is layer
So-
3.
So well, let me. May I?
Yeah.
So if you open the layers on the right, you'll see that there's a foreground and a background. And probably if you hide the foreground, which is to the right and then up and then click that, you'll see okay, it looks like this is background, because if you click and hide the background, then this will go away.
I'll be damned.
And that's how I find out, is I hide them to see what's what. So now you know that brown with that pattern is the background, and there's no foreground at all.
Yeah, no foreground at all.
Yeah.
So you could
So-
paint the foreground on top of it.
So right. So what I would start with is paint the background the way you like it. Fill it with one of the textures from the library if you want. You just hit. You can pick the paint tool on the left. Let's do it right now. Brush tool, and then make sure its background is selected. That's good. And then just a mouse over the open catalog, click it or hit F. Pick maybe a different open catalog. Pick a different texture for the background. It'll be the underground. So, one of the stone ones or something. That's fine. And then you can just click fill background if you want, right? That was the quick way. Or you can paint it to have different parts of the underground be different colors.
How do
Right.
you
Yeah.
fill background? Where fill
Right
BG?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. And that'll
Got
throw
it.
it off. Now,
Right.
you can do foreground stuff. You
Right.
can click on the foreground brush layer on the left. See brush layer, click
Yeah.
foreground. And now you
different
can
color.
pick a different color, like green grass or dirt or whatever you like for the top layer of your map, and you can fill foreground.
And you can make it like with the skinny, you can pick the grid so that it fills in on the grid.
If you click fill foreground,
Oh,
just below there, fill foreground, fill FG.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, there you go. Fill FG.
Damn it.
There you go.
well, that's going to do the whole thing.
Yep, exactly. If you click fill FG, then you can use the dig tool to,
Oh, to reveal it
Yeah.
that way too. Yeah.
well, first you have to fill FG though. Oh, he did. I didn't see it. So now you are,
No, I did something wrong.
well, it's okay.
No.
I think you were painting on top of the foreground.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do fill it.
So I've got brush layer FG here. You can see the little icon there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good to be really methodical at first when you're just doing the foreground and background, and then you don't have to worry about it.
And then it says, I'm right here, but I'm clicking on it and it doesn't do anything.
Oh, maybe it won't let you fill the whole foreground.
Oh,
Just
clicking on it
fill all.
didn't
Yeah.
do anything. So maybe whenever I'm confused, I go to foreground and background on the layers on the right, and I hide them both, and then I show them to see what's what.
Okay, yeah, the green is the
So
background.
this is foreground,
Yeah.
and it's not letting you fill it.
Nope.
So I would paint it all, and you can pick a bigger paintbrush if you want,
Well, or you can just fill in the land that you want.
but I would do it the way I'm
Okay.
saying, because why would you have nothing?
Well, maybe you're making an island.
Then you would have,
So you wanted,
then you would mask away, remove from the
okay,
foreground.
you could do it either way. then.
Well, but that's the way I would do it.
Okay,
I'd have all water because,
yeah.
the earth is
Yeah.
round.
Now you're on the smooth pencil, the smooth thing. You can make-
Island dick butt.
Okay, I was gonna say the wiggly, you can use the wiggly thing or you can use the grid thing so that your edges are,
Oh, there you go.
oh,
Yeah.
Well,
On
that
the
works
dig
for you.
tool.
fill all.
Fill all.
Yeah,
So that's the foreground.
yeah. Oh, you're in the masking tool.
I'm in the masking option. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Because background is hidden.
Oh. So wants you to plant some trees. Like Minecraft,
Everything good?
shrubberies.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a bit here on the free one. So yeah,
There's a
I'm
lot.
glad that, yeah.
The problem is
But
that
for
they're
25
often-
for
yeah,
$25 a month or year, yeah.
It's pretty good.
And
Yeah.
for a penny. Yeah.
and there's even like whole buildings and whole building layouts that you can drop in one stamp. I think we just saw one go by.
Yeah.
There's one, number 3, that says 3. Those are like, whole structures. And the bottom row, second from the right. Yeah, that second from the right.
It says show 16.
No, this one.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Second from the right. So show 3. Okay.
So you can build a whole building like in
Oh,
one
they want
one
it.
click.
Okay.
One-
Well, I clicked on Fantasy World. Here's Parchment World. Makes you want to pay.
Yeah.
well, they
Fantasy Regional.
probably they're
makes
all
you wanna
pay.
Yeah.
Yep. Watercolor battle maps.
It's
Make you wanna pay.
frustration wear.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's a teaser. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get
And
all the
it's quite-
functionality, but
Very powerful, even though it's free. I understand.
right.
I
If you
get
were a
that.
graphic designer and you made all your own stuff, right, you wouldn't even need these libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you just import all of your own stuff in there into
That's
a
right.
custom
But
library.
you could
That's
see
right.
like they have like tables and then there looked like there was china that you could put on top of the tables. Look at there's like bowls of grapes you could put on top.
Pottery, broken
So
pottery.
you
right.
could like zoom in. Look at those. What are those peppers? What are those tomatoes?
So one powerful thing is
Apples?
if you put in a keyword, right? You can do this for all of them, but it'll slow your machine down. So put in a query, right, to isolate something you're interested in, like flour or
How do I do that?
up in the search,
At the, yeah.
up at the top, search, for example,
left.
orc
Oh, got
town. So put in orc or something that you're
then
some limitation, right?
Yeah.
And then, right, so choose something. One of those, dungeon or orc or something. You can't be too specific, right? It's got to be something there's a bunch of stuff for. So you can click on one of those,
Kitchen.
anything you like. Right now that you've got something selected, there's an option below the search button called expand all. And if you click that, instead of having press parentheses 2, parentheses 3, you get to see all of the parts of those sets. So you don't have to expand them. You just see it all. Now, if you do that with everything, you're going to get, tens of thousands or 100,000 on your screen. It's too many, right? But if you've pre-selected, I do this all the time. Just show me all of the ones that I'm interested in.
At least from what I can see, there don't seem to be any isometric assets.
They might be in a different style
Yeah.
pack.
Yeah.
Okay, I've
And
What's an
selected all of.
isometric asset? What do you mean by that?
Do they call it something else?
Well, ISO, you can just put ISO in the because
Search?
some of them are identified as ISO, but not all. of them.
Yeah,
That's a
no.
frustration. And
It
another
doesn't-
yeah, go ahead.
it doesn't show. I've done some searches for isometric and
You have to
and
get rid of
ISO.
kitchen. You have to get rid of, click X next to the hashtag kitchen because that's a pre.
Get rid of the X.
Yeah, there. One of the frustrations I had was I went around looking for Inkarnate stamp sets that I could purchase, for
Mhm.
cheap. And there's almost none. Like if you find some, let me
Really?
know, because I thought this is a great thing for someone to sell. Right? Because they're not hard to make. I can make them. It's just if I were a graphic designer, I could really make them fast. And you could buy them, right? And then import them. But I just haven't seen a big market in that. So that's a little bit of a disappointment for me, right? Is I was thinking, why can't I find hundreds of sets, right? For
Mhm.
a few dollars each. And maybe I just didn't know where to look. Maybe they're in like drive-through RPG. I don't know where they are, but there's a market for them. So yeah, if you put in ISO now, it might show you some ISO sets. I'm not sure.
Very helpful.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely. All right.
All right.
So does that sound good
Okay, guys.
for this particular one? I think there's a lot of I think there'll be a lot of
Experimentation going on.
experimentation and I think a follow-up probably
Follow up
will be
after a while, yeah, because
Yeah.
let us play with it for a bit.
I recommend picking a small, like unambitious map of whatever first, so that you can feel like you finished it, right? Like if you pick a city first, it's too much, right? So try a cottage, try
Little
right.
village.
A village is already getting pretty ambitious unless it's very tiny, right? I wouldn't do a battle map that is a village. That's like a lot, right? But if you just did, a few little buildings, that's fine. Regional maps are not so hard because, right? It's mountains. It's all very high level, and
Mhm.
so a regional map is actually, I think, a pretty reasonable thing to start with.
You
And you
can-
can find tutorials on how to do all these things on YouTube.
There's that parchment, like the world, you can start, but then on the side, well, maybe it's the professional version, I don't know, but there on the side, you can say like generate a world, and you can say you want 30% water or you want 80% water, and then it will generate something on that thing, and you can keep clicking generate until you see something
That's kind of cool.
that like looks like you could work with it, right?
We didn't even look at that tool,
Yeah,
but that's a nice one.
Yeah, some of those, when you say create the map,
Yeah.
some of those are.
That's why
they're
we
quite
passed by it.
handy.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Yeah,
right.
and very interesting. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
Thank you very, very much.
Sure. Happy to do a
Yep.
follow-up if anybody wants it in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Sounds
think
cool.
we'll definitely be
Absolutely.
taking you up on that.
Yeah, I
Or you can
definitely
teach
will
us.
be taking, yeah.
Someone could be like,
If you learn something, let us know.
All right, we'll do.
Well, I'll let you know now. I learned something, so.
Yeah, this is
Well, I
awesome.
do.
I mean, if
Yeah,
you can
thank
teach
you
us
very
something,
much.
because we've showed you pretty much everything we know.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
if you learn anything, let us know.
Okay.
Got it.
All
All
right. Thanks,
right,
everyone.
guys. Thank
All
you
right.
very much. I
Thank
gotta
you.
go.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.